Hello, and welcome to our informal debate. Our topic is gift giving in behavior analysis, and we will explore the pros and cons to this topic. While this topic may seem trivial at first thought, there are many interesting points that will be made during our debate. As behavior analysts, this is an ethical code that we may come to contact with quite frequently, and situations can become awkward really quickly. No one enjoys turning down free stuff, but we examine what the code has to say about this. To start, we'll begin by going around and introducing ourselves. I can start. My name is Heather Hill, and I'm from Fort Wayne, Indiana.
My name is Jacqueline Messick. I'm from Vernon, New Jersey.
I'm Annette Cole. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
My name is Madison Moritz, and I'm from Fishers, Indiana.
My name is Mai Phương. I come from California.
My name is Keanne Griffin, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, thank you all for introducing ourselves. For this debate, the pro side will be supporting the idea that behavior analysis should be able to receive gifts from clients. So this goes against the code, but we decided to think of it as the pro side wants presents. Members supporting the pro side include Mai Phương, Jacqueline, and Annette. The con side of this debate then supports the code. The con side believes that gifts should not be received or given by behavior analysts, or as we like to think of it, the con side doesn't want gifts. Members supporting this side include Madison, Keanne, and myself. We each have multiple roles through this debate, and we feel our debate should be easy to follow without explaining all of our roles. Now that the basics are covered, let's begin this debate about gift giving and behavior analysis. We'll begin by hearing from Jacqueline on the pro side and myself on the con side. We discuss the definition of a gift, why people may give and receive gifts, and what the ethical code states about gift giving and receiving.
Okay. A gift or a present is defined as an item given to someone without the expectation of payment or return of a gesture. So by extension, the term gift can refer to anything that makes someone happier than they are in their immediate situation. There are many reasons people give gifts, and there are also many types of gifts. It's a major part of celebrating holidays, birthdays, landmark occasions, such as graduation, retirement, moving into a new home, engagement, marriage, or anniversary, etc. Raising someone's spirits to offset some kind of misfortune or sadness, and showing appreciation. There is a huge sense of satisfaction that occurs when a gift giver watches somebody accept or open a gift. In all instances, gift giving is a way to express feelings and emotions, and being able to show appreciation by giving someone a gift feels good internally for both parties that are involved. It also can have positive therapeutic effects for both client and a therapist. By doing something positive attracts positivity. When you do something nice for someone else, it changes the biology of both parties. Regions of the brain are changed, and endorphins and other feel-good chemicals such as oxytocins are released. These chemicals can help people feel happy and a sense of contentment on both giving and the receiving end. So here we have some of the gifts that are common and uncommon. Some common types of gifts, cash, any kind of tangible items, pledges for donations to money, wine, gift cards, homemade cookies or bread. Uncommon gifts are ones you wouldn't necessarily think of gifts, such as a dinner invitation, a water or other beverage, any kind of art, sporting events tickets, referrals, or investment tips. It's also good for your health to exchange and receive gifts. It helps to decrease stress, it increases emotional support, and it lowers blood pressure. Everyone wants to know they are appreciated. Sharing feelings or tokens also helps, shows, and promotes appreciation and can relieve stress on both sides. It also, gift giving promotes a social connection. These gestures help promote trust, communication, cooperation that can strengthen our ties to another person. In our profession, it is important to have a strong relationship and strengthen your ties. It also helps us feel closer to others and helps them feel closer to us, which is what we want as behavior analysts. It's contagious. The feelings you get from gift giving and making people feel good is where the concept of paying it forward comes into play. Someone does something nice for you, and it makes you want to do something nice for somebody else. This can also cause a ripple effect in a very positive way, such as a person who offered to buy you dinner, then in turn around, you want to buy coffee for somebody else. And while it may seem that people give gifts in order to gain favor with somebody, I do not believe this is the case at all. If a therapist is working late into the evening, offering them dinner has more to do with the host or hostess being nice than expecting favors. You work very closely with these families. You help to make their lives better and improve their situation. They are just trying to return the favor best they can by being hospitable. Offering a glass of water or dinner is more about being polite than having an expectation of getting anything back. A small token of appreciation at Christmas time or as a thank you for a job well done when you're done working with a client is not necessarily implying that the gift giver expects you to return the favor. It's more applying that they are very thankful for the job that you've done and that you have done a very good job. And this is just one way of showing their appreciation. They're more trying to do something nice to make themselves and someone else feel good for the fact that you are changing their lives rather than the expectation of favors or favoritism or doing something for them in return.
As much as I would like to support you, Jacqueline, I have to refer to the ethical code that all behavior analysis must follow. I love gifts, but our ethical code says we can't accept them. It states in code 1.06D that behavior analysts do not accept any gifts from or give any gifts to clients because this constitutes a multiple relationship. And then code 1.06 in general refers to multiple relationships and conflicts of interest. 1.06a explicitly states to avoid multiple relationships due to the potentially harmful effects. If an intervention you're about to use with a client had potentially harmful effects, you wouldn't use that intervention. So why would a behavior analyst want to risk that potentially harmful effect by accepting or giving a gift? Bailey and Birch interpret gifts to include even a glass of tea or a cookie while working in-home with a client. Jacqueline also provided great examples of various types of gifts. Giving and receiving gifts may start to develop a friendship, which would then make a multiple relationship. Bailey and Birch even put it in a better perspective. Behavior analysts working in home are not guests. A plumber or an electrician working in a home would not be considered a guest no more than what a behavior analyst should be considered a guest. The benefits of giving or receiving a gift does not outweigh the potentially harmful effects of gifting. Although it seems that there are many therapeutic effects for the client and the therapist or behavior analyst, as Jacqueline discussed, there are also potentially harmful effects as well. Researching this topic was kind of hard for me. I wanted research studies with data that shows why we should not give or receive gifts. After all, we are a data-driven field. While planning this debate, members of the group even said, like, this doesn't seem very behavioral, and where are the research studies? Where's my facts? So I did try to think of it in a behavioral way. Russell Belk mentioned in his article 3 reasons that continue gift giving. Number 1, the obligation to give. Number 2, the obligation to receive. And number 3, the obligation to repay. Among these 3 reasons, he discussed motives to gifting. He stated the obligation to give may be based on the need to keep peaceful relations, moral or religious expectations, or the expectation of reciprocal giving. That last expectation of the reciprocal giving is the motive that worries me the most as a behavior analyst. I don't want to be in the position of, after accepting a gift card to Starbucks from a parent, the parent suddenly wants me to implement a program that is not research-based. As I try to explain why I can't implement it, since we must use research-based interventions according to the code, the parent asks me, "Hey, how was that coffee from Starbucks?" This parent might be searching for a reciprocal gift, not in the form of another gift card to Starbucks, but in the form of treatment for their child. I don't know what the history of reinforcement is for this parent either. Perhaps at the previous school that they were at, they received more communication with the teacher after they gave the teacher a gift. The teacher then reinforced that behavior of gift giving. It's fine for a teacher to accept a gift, at least in Indiana. There's no ethical code that prevents it. The teacher may not have even realized that after they got that gift card, they started talking to the parent more and letting them know how their child's day was. But the parent may have noticed, if I give a gift card, then I get good things for my child. And what parent would not want to try that again? However, as behavior analysts, we cannot reinforce such behaviors with our clients. We don't know what the function of their behavior is, so we don't want to accidentally reinforce it by accepting or giving gifts. So when taken literally, the code explains that we can't give or take any gifts from clients. This should make it pretty easy to follow. I love to get gifts as much as the next person, but we can't. And if we all follow the code and don't accept any gifts, then there really shouldn't be any issues. Okay. Next, we'll hear about another topic related to the gift giving. Now that the topic of gift giving has been introduced, we'll begin to kind of analyze the issue more in depth. Mai Phuong, consider how accepting gifts may make a therapist feel and how giving a gift may make a client feel. They will investigate both sides of gift giving and receiving.
To reiterate what Heather stated, Code 1.06D states that behavior analysts do not accept any gifts from or give any gift to clients because this constitutes a multiple relationship. This code was created to discourage potential harmful multiple relationships. Although much is said about how clients may feel when a gift is turned down by a therapist, not much is said on how this may affect the therapist when presented with such a problematic situation. When presented with a gift from a client, a therapist is put in a situation where they have to consider the client's intentions for said gift. In the ABA world, therapists and BCBAs are working closely alongside families in intimate things such as home and community. Long hours are spent with each family providing services and training. Accepting gifts can potentially cloud the objectivity of professionals. One may argue that accepting gifts that are culturally sensitive should be an exception. But when do we draw the line? In a field that is so data-driven, how do we objectively make the call case by case? In the article, Factors Associated with Acceptance and Decline of Giving, Brown 2008, situational examples were used for therapists to determine in what situation gifts and why or why not. A common trend seen throughout the study was the lack of consistency from case to case. 38 of 40 therapists reported they would accept a handmade gift from a Native American client if it symbolized something of significance because of cultural sensitivity. Yet they would also accept an ingredient knew it was wrong. Did not want to hurt the client's feelings. How is this ethical? Opens up the floodgates. How do they close them before being swept away? They can't. This directly goes against Code 1.04 integrity. This code is the foundation for the ethical system. We are supposed to maintain the credibility of our field. With upholding the credibility of our field, you must uphold all other codes that precede and follow. Accepting gifts violates this code and the credible. Bottom line, exchange automatically creates a dual relationship. puts the therapist at risk of not wanting to hurt the client's feelings when presenting the results for an assessment, or not creating the best treatment plan in order to keep a friendly relationship. These are all feelings that therapists should not be concerned with. Setting boundaries up front is the best way to combat this. No exceptions can be blurs lines of therapist/client relationship.
Kian, thanks for your sharing. I think, I do not agree with you that no exception can be given for gift giving. I did know that gift giving to the therapist directly go against Code 1.060. However, but my experiences for working with families and children with autism for over 5 years, and based on my research for this topic, I came to say that a process gift in therapy can be accepted. You consider how accepting gift may make a therapist feel, your opinion and your research, so the therapist feel that they may hurt the client feelings. They present the result for an assessment, or the therapist may not create the best treatment plan in order to keep friendly relationship. I agree with you. This can happen. However, if the therapist know to consider factor of accepting gift, they will be fine. Blanco and Sealy 2012 stated that the therapist need to consider factors when facing with a challenging decision regarding gift giving, including timing of the gift, time, and value of the gift, cultural issue, and potential impact on the relationship. Moreover, therapists must consider collaborating with the professional co-workers or supervisor for consultation regarding gift giving. I would like to focus on client experiences regarding gift giving to the therapist. I think we need to hear what clients say about their experience of gift giving to see if gift giving to the therapist negatively or positively affecting the therapy session. In a 2009 article, Norgibius, Smith, Hess, and Hugh talk about client experience gift giving to the therapist. This study includes 9 European American clients whose ages were between 26 and 61 years old, and 8 of whom are women. During the interview, the participants stated that they typically gave handmade items and gave purchased items to show appreciation for the therapist or to denote a strong therapy relationship. The gift typically cost less than $25. They chose something they believed the therapist would like. Also, they chose an item linked to the therapy, and also they noted they considered the boundaries related to an appropriateness of the gift. They typically gave the gift at some point within actual therapy session. They perceive that the gift event positively affect them and the therapist. With regard to the gift meaning, the participants generally indicated that they gave the gift to express appreciation and typically to mark a particular life event. The particular typically reported any discussion they had with the therapist about the gift were brief and did not explore the gift deeper meaning. One of the limitations of this study is that on word is European American. How about other studies? I have worked in ABA field for 5 years. Most of my clients are Vietnamese, Chinese, Filipino, and Mexican. I see that the families sometimes would like to give gift to the therapist. The gifts more or minimal financial or emotional values, so that her make cookies or cakes or lemon in their gardens or candle to demonstrate their gratefulness. Under my BCBA permission, I am allowed to accept the gifts. Under the Code 1.060 stated, behavior analysis do not accept any gifts from or give any gift to clients because this constitutes a multiple relationship. I think that as long as we don't spare transference or all the emotion issues, and the gift doesn't violate any other ethic boundaries, be open to the experience. Based on the research article and my experiences regarding clients and giving gift to therapists, I think gift giving is one of the ways for clients to express their sincere gratitude.
Thank you, Kian and Mai Fulong. That's a unique perspective on the gift giving topic. Next, we'll hear from Annette and Madison. Gift giving may evoke different feelings from the therapist's view and the client view. So Annette and Madison will address ways to gain therapeutic rapport with clients, either by accepting various levels of gifts or by using alternative approaches that do not involve gifts.
So I'm going to talk about being pro-gift giving in terms of boundary crossing. So that's situations that can actually lend to therapeutic rapport versus boundary violations that might include large gifts or situations where the client is actively put at risk as a result of the situation or of the gift. So in Zuur's 2004 and 2015 articles, the difference between appropriate and inappropriate gift giving is discussed in terms of boundary crossing. So like I said, there's small gifts, something like a coffee or a tea, and boundary violations where they're more severe situations. So it might include something like sexual contact, expensive and personal gifts, invitations to socialize outside of work, or basically situations that serve to benefit the therapist more than the client. So Zuur reports that boundary crossings can benefit the therapeutic relationship and that boundary violations can damage it. But he's also done extensive research that shows that in most situations, boundary crossings, so again, small gifts, token gifts that occur at the end of service, that kind of thing, do not develop into dual relationships, which is essentially what the BACB code is warning us about. So here in a presentation by Dr. Simmons and Reitz, boundary violations are discussed more on terms of a spectrum. So on one side, on the far left, you have boundary drifts. So that's more things that are happening in the therapist's mind, so not in overt behavior. So there's thoughts. The danger there is not being fully present and attentive in your therapy session with the client. So the next is boundary crossing. So this is more of what we're talking about, where there's the overt behaviors with the patient and staff that doesn't really fit into the role definition. So when you're intentionally interacting outside of the clinical context, and in isolation, a lot of these things might not seem like they're a big deal. So the slide gives an example of reciprocating a hug from a client or sharing a minor personal interaction in passing. So if you're seeing a client out in public and they say hello to you, saying hello back and maybe having a conversation about the place that you are both in public might be considered a boundary crossing, but it would be really rude and inappropriate to ignore the person in public at the same time. So on the far right, you have the boundary violations, which fits with Zuur's idea. So the sexual contact, financial exploitation, remaining in an intimate relationship with a current patient is a clear ethical violation. And then in the middle, there's the boundary transgressions. And I would think that even for us, this would fit in with the boundary violations where this is not what's considered appropriate. So sharing personal information, such as certain desires or conflicts, intentional social contact with a patient or the parents of some of our clients, an intentional dual relationship, initiating non-clinical physical contact, or giving the patient a gift. So Zuur notes that in psychotherapy, the act of giving or receiving a gift is a significant one, and that it's usually comprised of a client giving a gift to a therapist and not really the other way around. So Zuur notes that in his research, most gifts are given as a symbol of appreciation and trust, and that accepting small gifts can enhance clinical outcomes. Boundary crossings that are rejected, however, can cause the gift giver to feel insulted and withdraw. So if you think about that more in ABA or behavioral terms, rejecting a gift is an aversive event for most individuals, and it may cause the individual to avoid therapeutic interactions in the future. So you might have clients that will start canceling appointments or not taking data when you've asked them to, or kind of sabotaging some of your treatment goals in the future. So further in Zur's 2015 article, he cites 6 different studies that indicate that accepting small token gifts actually enhance the therapeutic relationship, which is observable by heightened clinical outcomes, and 2 studies that indicate rejecting gifts causes the gift giver to feel rejected and can actually cause damage to the relationship. In a study by Spandler et al. In 2000, they discussed therapists' gift giving and receiving behavior with information obtained from a survey distributed by the authors. They note that most respondents felt that accepting gifts at the end of service or around social events where gift giving is normal or expected, such as Christmas, birthdays, that was acceptable, and it was actually beneficial to the therapeutic relationship. Spandler also notes that several respondents, despite most of them being aware of the guidelines around accepting gifts, and then it's generally known as unacceptable in the field, still accepted gifts frequently. And there was actually one respondent who actually noted that they have never seen a therapist refuse a gift. Willingham and Boyle in 2011 also sent out a survey similar to Spandler's to practicing psychotherapists, and they received 223 responses. 45% of those respondents practiced cognitive behavior therapy. Authors found that 87% of gifts were accepted by the therapists. Most gifts were under $30, and gifts were more readily accepted without interpretation around holidays and the cessation of therapy. So when they talk about interpretation in this sense, in psychotherapy, when a gift is given, often the practice is that they will try to understand the underlying meaning about the gift, whether there's any transference or kind of interdependent relationship that needs to be explored and sorted out to create a more therapeutic relationship. But that's not really what we do in applied behavior analysis, where we would just accept the gift or not. The authors also noted that when they asked the psychoanalyst kind of just what they thought about gift giving in general in an open-ended portion of the survey, they noted that gift giving was considered the correct behavior and that rejecting the gift was wrong. And most therapists believe that rejecting the gift would harm the therapeutic relationships. Gifts that had personal meaning were over $50, or if they were something like alcohol, were noted by most therapists as gifts that would be rejected. And again, this is in line with Zur's boundary violation idea, where it's likely that the client is attempting to express something more than gratitude with the gift and obtain a dual relationship with the therapist and do that back and forth that we've talked about. Like Kian noted, with saying that it's about having the back and forth and the obligation to give and receive. So to look at gift giving through an ABA lens, boundary crossings are similar to the pairing process that behavior analysts use to gain rapport with their clients. The individual giving the gift is trying to establish themselves as a reinforcer, or as at least a provider of good things to another person. In a relationship between a behavior analyst and a client, the client or their parent doesn't often get the chance to provide reinforcement to the behavior analyst in a tangible sense, in a similar way that the behavior analyst is giving a tangible reinforcer to the client and to the family on a daily basis, whether it's by tokens or snack or whatever else. So particularly within the first few sessions, a parent may try to pair with the behavior analyst by offering a coffee, a snack, a small gift, something like that in an attempt to pair. So to illustrate the example further, if in a therapy session a child was refusing attempts to pair, the behavior analyst wouldn't simply stop attempting to pair. They would try different approaches, bringing forward different items, trying different ways to play with the child in order to get their buy-in and their responding in order to move forward faster with the session. But if the child quickly accepted the attempts to pair, therapy would be moving a lot faster and you could get more done with your time. So in a similar fashion, accepting a simple gift from a parent to establish rapport may increase their willingness to do what you're needing them to do outside of necessarily the ABA session. So it might be something like data collection or running the program outside of scheduled ABA time. So in summary, given that rejecting boundary crossings, such as the giving of a small gift, has been shown to damage therapeutic rapport, that gifts are widely understood as a valuable part of the therapeutic process and can be understood in behavioral terms, it's reasonable to expect that some gifts should be received without being considered an ethical violation.
Annette, you make great points, but there are many different ways to build rapport and create a relationship with a client that doesn't include gift giving. Gift giving is an ethical dilemma for all professionals within the ABA field, and Hunt and Price outline a multitude of different ways to avoid this dilemma and build rapport other ways through their article. This article references building a relationship between an auditor and a client, but the information presented can be generalized across multiple settings and professional relationships. Building rapport is imperative from the very first meeting. According to Hunt and Price, there are important skills to enhance the rapport building before the first meeting or assessment even takes place. By really personalizing emails, phone calls, pre-assessment packages with an informal feel to those, that builds rapport right off the start. It is key to make sure that both the parents and client and children feel comfortable with you, and to do that, the rapport has to be present within the relationship. During the initial meeting, and from there on after, building rapport is constant and necessary for a good working relationship. When parents come in for the initial assessment of their child, they have no idea what to expect, and for most have never experienced this before. It is critical to make them feel comfortable, and that can simply be with a smile. Parents and guardians are more likely to disclose information in that initial meeting and assessment when they feel welcomed and comfortable. According to Hunt and Price, small talk also helps build rapport. The casual conversation helps make the families and clients feel at ease through this initial meeting and assessment. It makes things feel light and gets them comfortable for what is about to take place. Humor is also an important element throughout the first meeting. It helps keeps things light, but also helps the families feel at ease. However, according to Hunt and Price, humor must be used tastefully and appropriately, because if used in the wrong sense, it could cause a rift between the clients and yourself. Also, another incredibly important and easy way to build rapport, but is most often forgotten, is simply maintaining eye contact. Eye contact makes families feel like they are being heard and understood. However, each person has different levels of comfort when it comes to eye contact, so it is imperative to not overstep this boundary and make them feel uncomfortable. Hunt and Price also outline another incredibly simple and basic way to build rapport with clients. Listen. Listening when the family is explaining observation of their child, along with their hopes for the child, is critical in developing a treatment plan that is relevant and helpful to both the family and client individually. Being a good listener allows the behavior analyst to pick up on key pieces of information from the family that may not be observable in the professional setting. After the initial meeting or assessment, there are a few more ways to continue building rapport with the family. Sending a personalized follow-up email with sentiments of gratitude for the meeting and a small recap of just what was discussed. Another critical rapport building strategy is following through on what was discussed throughout the initial meeting, whether it be creating certain programs or ideas that were discussed, but follow through is necessary. Not following through on anything that was covered through the initial meeting can cause some doubt to arise within the client's family. From my personal professional experience, when working directly with a client, there are some great ways to build rapport directly with the client and their family. With the client, the best way to build rapport is to just do things that they love without placing demands they have to complete before receiving that thing or item. For example, if the client loves tickles, giving the client tickles throughout your time with them on a non-contingent basis. By doing things the client enjoys, you're building rapport by pairing yourself with the client with the reinforcing items. In terms of building rapport with your client's family, from my experience, the best way is to engage with them about their child's day, explaining things to them in easy to understand terms, not technical information, and just sharing some fun anecdotes from the day that you spent with their child. Here's a funny little card that could be given to clients and families when they first enroll in your services to keep this potentially awkward situation light. It also references the BACB website at the bottom with the ethics code that the clients and families can go to find our ethical compliance code. So it just says, "Thanks for the gesture, you made my day. Though I don't want to offend you in any way, I cannot accept, in keeping with my ethical code, the best gift you gave was kindness you showed." And so then you can see at the bottom, it has the BACB website. In summary, building rapport is critical for building a meaningful, lasting, and working professional relationship. There are a multitude of different ways to build rapport that do not include gift giving or accepting. Building rapport begins at the very first meeting and continues to grow throughout the entire professional relationship. Having a strong rapport with a client is crucial to making progress. Gift giving does not have to be involved to build rapport.
Thank you all for some really great points about our topic of gift giving. Next, we have 3 questions and various people will answer them. So question 1 is, what are some preventative strategies you can use to help clients, including parents or others, not offer to provide you, the behavior analyst, gifts?
One way is when the clients first enroll in your services, provide them with guidelines on gift giving and explain that even though it is very thoughtful, gifts can't be accepted due to our ethical code. Also, around the holiday season, be sure to remind the families of this guideline to avoid any potential uncomfortable situations. And just make sure to explain the multiple relationships so that they understand that it's not because you don't want to accept them, it's just due to our professional ethical code, we are not allowed to.
Model and encourage use of language that specifies you are a professional, not a friend. High fives or handshakes instead of hugs. Promoting boundaries by labeling behaviors associated with your role. Like in the example of giving a high five, say, hugs are for family and close friends, but we can high five, never referring to yourself as a friend.
Those are some really great answers. So question number 2 is, what might be some aversive consequences that can occur if you accept a small gift, such as a glass of water or a $5 gift card? For example, what happens if a parent gives you a gift that you accept, but 6 months later decides the parent that they're unhappy with the services you're providing and starts to seek out retribution?
Because the populations with whom we typically work are considered vulnerable, it is not unreasonable for the parent to then say you took advantage of them, that they felt pressured to offer you gifts or food and drink every time you visited, or that they felt somehow that their services were a direct result of whatever gifts they gave. This in turn puts the behavior analyst in a difficult situation, which may end up in termination or some other legal involvement.
So the third question is, do you have any personal experiences related to this topic that you would like to share? I can just talk about, for me, I had a supervisor who was a BCBA and who was in charge of accepting referrals and triaging referrals based on needs. He received a referral from a member of the community whose child was really high needs. And although he would have benefited from services, he wasn't at such a rate that would put him at the highest level of triage. And so he still probably would have had around a 2-month wait. But however, because the member of the community was also a very, very close friend of the BCBA, the member of the community's son had an intake within a few days of the referral, and then he was picked up for services within a week of the intake occurring. And so their multiple relationship affected every other person who was triaged at the top of that wait list without their knowledge, and it would have potentially caused harm to every other person on that wait list because they would have gone longer without services that could have intervened to stop potentially violent behaviors.
So just to wrap things up, our topic was on the ethical implications of gift giving. The code states that behavior analysts are not to accept gifts of any kind. This can probably be considered one of the most encountered ethical dilemmas in our profession, and that is because gifts can be defined by different people in different ways. What one person thinks of a gift may not be what someone else thinks a gift is considered, such as a glass of water or an invitation to have a quick dinner if you were working very late with a client. We have presented both sides, the pros and cons, the positive and negative, and we hope our debate was very informative. Thank you.